So my original underrated SNES games video did very well in YouTube's mysterious algorithm, but I noticed in the comments I missed a ton of games that could have been added in. While I don't regret the first video, I definitely left off a bunch of very good underrated games that should have a spotlight put on them. So I hope this video helps the notion for all the entertainment that I left off. Side note, I try to go for variety in these lists, so if I leave anything off, there's not any sort of maliciousness with the choice, you know, unless it's Bubsy. In no particular order, here are 10 more underrated Super Nintendo games you should play. So Clock Tower scares the crap out of me. That's not new, but what we can appreciate is how good the base game actually is. Clock Tower was released on the Super Famicom in 1995 and further released on the PS1 as Clock Tower: The First Fear by Human Entertainment. I specify Super Famicom as this game was only released in Japan, technically excluding this from this list, but oh well, my list, and I'm including it. If you want to fist fight me about it, meet me at the playground after this list is over. You control Jennifer Simpson, a newly adopted orphan, as she and her foster sisters get escorted to a totally not scary mansion to meet their new father. Multiple disappearances and possible deaths later, Jennifer is on the run for her life as a terrifying scissor man is after her, and you as the player is responsible for her safety. A sort of point-and-click adventure. You must go around the mansion investigating for ways out and supplies while also discovering what has happened to cause all of this. The scissor man will appear from anywhere to try and cut open Jennifer, to which the player must run away or risk death. The game is filled with a tense and scary atmosphere, which has directly inspired many future horror games, most important of all, Resident Evil. With that sort of pedigree, isn't any surprise why Clock Tower is on the list this time around, with 9 different endings. You should check out why this game will always be at the top of the list of things that scare me. The Genesis may have gotten a good arcade adaptation of Strider, but the Super Nintendo got Run Saber in return, so we're even. Ha! Run Saber was released on the Super Nintendo in 1993 by Horisoft and Atlus. A side-scroller, you control either a male or female Saber cyborgs as they fight to save the planet from robots, mutants, and even their own malfunctioned brother. You get a standard sword attack, a mid-air attack, and a limited screen clearing attack, and that's it against the wave of enemies and bosses you come across. Levels are broken down as giant landscapes that are navigated with a directional arrow that tells the player character where to go, that is only broken up with mini-bosses with a final boss at the end of each level. Like I hinted at before, this game is best compared to Strider with its fast-paced action and gameplay. Since Strider never came to the Super Nintendo, but the Nintendo for some reason, Run Saber will quench that thirst for an action game that really doesn't get the attention it deserves. Soul Blazer was released on the Super Nintendo in 1992 by Quintet and Enix. An action RPG, you control an angel-turned-avatar called Blazer that was sent by God to slay the demons who destroyed a kingdom and all the people in it one region at a time. Blazer must travel dungeon crawler style into all the monster lairs, sword slicing all the demons he finds, and free the villagers to repopulate each of the towns they come across. You are able to use your standard sword attack or use magic from the spirits that are slowly recovered over the course of the game. The dungeons that Blazer must travel through are all very varied and nice looking, but good luck traveling across them with all the various fantasy creatures coming to jump on your bones. As each civilian is saved, a new building is erected in the city that will help Blazer in many different ways, including providing healing items or new equipment. Sometimes, even stuff like flowers or animals can be saved that provide health to the hero. After each boss is slain and the town is saved, the player is given a magical stone that, once all 6 are assembled, give you access to the final area where the final boss death toll awaits. The games best compared to this are Secret of Mana and Link to the Past, but that shouldn't stop you from checking this game out if you have the chance. It can be an absolute blast, and is simple enough for people to play without stressing about overcomplicated mechanics. This game and fellow underrated Quintet Enix games, Illusion of Gaia and Terranigma, should be brought up as great RPGs on a system that has no shortage of them at all. Now, you may look at this cover art and be confused. What the hell kind of game is Phalanx? Is it a hillbilly action game? A banjo basic music game? No, actually, it's a horizontal shooter. I mean, can't you see the ship in the top right corner, you silly goose? Phalanx was released on the Super Nintendo in 1992, after originally being released on the X68000 in 1991 by Kimco. you take the role of Wink Ballfield, a pilot who's sent to investigate an emergency transmission from a research colony on planet Delia. A squadron of alien fighters has suddenly shown up, so yeah, you and your standard fighter are tasked with blowing everything up one ship at a time. What sets Phalanx apart is the gameplay, which is pretty different in the horizontal shooter genre. For one, your ship can actually take more than one hit, holy shit! Also, something about being able to choose your ship's speed at will to, yeah, whatever. The weapons you gather can also be sacrificed to be used as screen-clearing bombs, which gives you even more variety in the way you play. Something, whatever. Really, Phalanx isn't a major advancement on the genre, but hot damn, is this game fun. It's an underrated title that can be fun to pick up and play, but does just enough to set itself apart just to be picked for this list. The cover is still what the fuck though. Blackthorn was released in 1994 for the Super Nintendo, DOS, and 32X by Blizzard. A platform game, you control Kyle off his latest Monster Energy binge as he breaks out of prison and is soon embroiled in a journey to reclaim his birthright throne on an alien planet named Tool, one gunshot at a time. There exists an extended plot about dealing with light zones and dark zones and yada yada yada, but that's not why you're here. You are here because you use a freaking shotgun to take out enemies. Not even kidding. Kyle is able to have shootouts with enemies using his shotgun both forward and backward no-look style, ducking behind cover to avoid incoming bullets and navigate the platforms in his way. Kyle is also tasked with finding keys and other items to progress through each labyrinth in an effort to get to the final boss, Sarlacc, who you also go blat blat to. If you can't see the appeal in this, then I don't know what to tell you. The graphics most favor a highly detailed adventure game on PC, and the music holds up what is an underrated game on the Super Nintendo platform by the eventual World of Warcraft machine dispenser. The Ninja Warriors was released for the Super Nintendo in 1994 by Natsume and Taito, a remake/sequel to the original 1987 arcade beat-em-up. You control one of 3 ninja androids. Jesus, what's with all the robot ninjas? As you go through each level, ninjaing it up with different weapons, mobility, and attributes based on who you choose. Your goal? Overthrowing the maniacal Bangler the Tyrant and installing your own tyrant, the leader of the Rebel Alliance named Milk. But let's not think about that. Let's just have fun with the gameplay. Your character is able to move along a singular plane, beating up various enemies on the way to a boss at the end, and moving on to the next. Enemies can be held at bay with both attacks from the androids and the various items that can be picked up and thrown. A meter also fills up as enemies are defeated that, when full, will allow your character to unleash a screen-wide attack that can turn the odds around in an instant. The game is pretty standard, but if you are tired of your Turtles in Time or Final Fight, the Ninja Warriors can be a fun distraction that isn't talked about much in the beat-em-up conversation. Fun fact, the team that developed this game would also in 1994 develop the outstanding Wild Guns, which also extensively involves androids, so you can't say they don't have a type. Total Carnage! The sequel to Smash TV, Total Carnage was released in 1992, first for arcades, with its Super Nintendo port coming in 1993 by Midway. Like its predecessor, Total Carnage is a twin-stick overhead shooter, with the left stick controlling your character's movements, and the right button pad controlling where you shoot. Instead of a TV studio, you were in war against General Agboob and his mutant army across multiple battlefields, blowing up everything you can. POWs are also scattered across the levels, along with the keys of the last game, as well as point collectibles and many different weapons to use and bombs to drop. You still die in one hit without a protective barrier, so you must maneuver your way through the different bullets coming across. This game is difficult, but as a mindless shoot fest, it's a great time. The graphics take a noticeable hit for console, like damn, this is super crunchy, but the gameplay still holds up and is a good time. The different atmosphere makes way for weirder mutant enemies and bosses, and multiplayer again is a highlight, with both you and your friend tag teaming to kick mutant butt. If you needed a new mind-numbing game to play with a friend, you should check this game out. It's Morphin time! Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, the game, was released for the Super Nintendo in 1995 by Natsume and Bandai. There exist further games for the Game Boy, Genesis, and Game Gear, but those were developed by different studios, leading to significant gameplay changes. You control your choice of Power Ranger from the movie as you go from level to level, beating up the putties that Ivan Ooze deploys, as well as villains from the second season of the TV show at the end. You start out the level on Morph. It can only transform once you defeat enough villains and collect the morphing pickups. From there, you get stronger and change your moveset. The game is your standard beat 'em up fare, but with the added feature of 2 dimensions that can be crossed at will, similar to SNK fighting games. This game is another that can be played multiplayer, and will be a joy to you and your friend to continuously yell, "It's Morphin time!" over and over. The game is impressive graphically, with the transformation sequences standing out in particular, and the music is vastly underrated with its rock track. The game doesn't reinvent the beat 'em up wheel, but it doesn't have to really. It does what it does very well and should be appreciated as such. We had Ninja Warriors, and now, watch out, we have Metal Warriors. Metal Warriors was released on the Super Nintendo in 1995 by LucasArts and Konami. A side-scrolling running gun, you control Lieutenant Stone as he defends the United States government against a Dark Axis military force, using different mecha suits to help him on his way. Inspired by various mecha anime and video games previously released, this game was very cyberpunk stylized, and it really makes it stand out. Lieutenant Stone pilots one of 6 different suits that have their own attributes and weapons, and navigates through different levels taking out other robots, structures, and soldiers firing upon him. Unlike most other games, there is no HUD, so you must pay attention to your mech to gauge how damaged it is. And if it gets too damaged, Lieutenant Stone can manually maneuver outside with a pistol and jetpack to either find another mech or go at it alone. You shouldn't do that unless required, as your character will get smeared like a bug on the windshield. Metal Warriors is really ambitious, with the outstanding graphics really making the environment and characters shine. The game is fun to play, and the ability to play around the various mechas is an exciting time. One thing though, this game is hard. It's not a Battletoads, but don't be surprised if you are ejected from your favorite mech sooner than later, because it got shot up faster than you like this video. Pretty please. The Secret of Evermore? Don't you mean Secret of Mana? No, that's an entirely separate and more popular game. Secret of Evermore was released on the Super Nintendo in 1995 by Square, an action RPG much in the vein of Secret of Mana. You control a boy and his weird alien dog as they go across the world of Evermore, exploring 4 different time period zones in an effort to return home to the real world. Sharing similar gameplay to the Secret of Mana, you control either the boy or the dog and fight various enemies in real time, pausing to navigate the ring menus and choose different weapons, settings, and items. You gain experience to level up and gain new abilities and weapons to defend yourself. The enemies, items, and even your dog changes with the different time period environments, and that provides a great contrast as opposed to the fantasy setting of Secret of Mana. The Secret of Evermore was received positively, but it wasn't giving a lot of attention due to not being a proper follow-up from the Secret of Mana, which disappointed players. This is unfair, as the rescope environment provides a contrasting difference with the original Mana game and makes it stand out on its own merits, despite sharing many elements. In my opinion, the Secret of Evermore should be appreciated more, if not as much, as the Secret of Mana. If you finish the first game, the Secret of Evermore should provide a fun follow-up for you to continue on your RPG binge. Have any other Super Nintendo games that I should have highlighted? Leave them in the comments. Maybe I'll make a 3rd video if there's enough attention. Till then, hope you have a great day. See ya next time.